At exactly 5:40 p.m. Eastern Time on June 21, 2025, a 30,000-pound block of hardened steel and specialized explosives began its descent through Iranian airspace at nearly the speed of sound, 700 miles per hour. In just 43 seconds, the GBU-57, the largest bunker-busting bomb ever engineered, would slam through 200 feet of reinforced concrete and granite. The target? Fordo, a nuclear enrichment facility buried so deep that conventional bombs might as well be bottle rockets. Tonight, Fordo would learn why the United States doesn't offer free healthcare, because instead, it pays for tools that can erase a nuclear site buried under a mountain. And the journey of this bomb is the climax of one of the most precisely coordinated military operations in over 2 decades. 18 hours earlier, at Whiteman, home to some of the most secretive and expensive machines on the planet, the ground crew raced the clock. At the center of their effort, a B-2 Spirit, one of only 19 operational stealth bombers on Earth, each one worth $2.1 billion. The flight crew moved through the pre-mission checklist. 14 massive GBU-57s loaded onto rotary launch systems, conformal fuel tanks topped off with 180,000 pounds of JP-8, and each aircraft's APQ-181 radar switched to full stealth mode, rendering the entire squadron into ghosts in the sky. At precisely 12:01 a.m. on June 21st, the first B-2 rolled down Whiteman's 12,400-foot runway. 4 General Electric F-118 engines, each producing 17,300 pounds of thrust, pushed the aircraft into the night, whisper quiet, yet powerful enough to lift 336,500 pounds of steel and ordnance into the dark. The pilot maintained an ultra-shallow ascent to minimize infrared signature. Even friendly satellites weren't meant to see much. But not all of these ghosts were headed to Iran. 7 aircraft advanced eastward. Another group banked west toward the Pacific. A brilliantly simple diversion. Russian and Chinese satellites locked on to the westbound group, quickly feeding intel that suggested B-2 movements toward Guam, generating confusion and potential diplomatic ripple effects. Meanwhile, the actual strike package, the highest tech force on the planet, slipped quietly into the Atlantic darkness. Crossing the Atlantic is when things really start to get tense. On paper, the B-2 bomber can fly about 6,000 nautical miles on internal fuel alone, but reality isn't that simple. Once external fuel tanks are added, the plane can fly farther, but also gets heavier and less efficient. The actual range drops to around 4,500 nautical miles, and the round trip from Missouri to Iran and back, that's over 14,000 nautical miles. Without aerial refueling, the mission just isn't possible. The first refueling happens at 4 a.m., right over the middle of the Atlantic. Sounds straightforward, but it's anything but. You've got 2 planes flying at 400 miles per hour, in total darkness with turbulence and no lights. Connecting the refueling boom in those conditions takes extreme precision, in an environment that's chaotic and nearly impossible to see in. But the U.S. Air Force has practiced this thousands of times. From the KC-135 tanker, the boom operator extends the refueling arm. The B-2 pilot has to hold the perfect position, 30 feet behind, 15 feet below, and perfectly centered. Even a slight drift can be dangerous, enough to call off the entire mission. But here, everything moves like clockwork. Fuel transfers at 1,000 pounds per minute. Outside, it's minus 60 degrees in the stratosphere. Inside, the boom operator is sweating bullets from sheer concentration. And that's just the beginning. By 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, after 2 more refuels and over 15 straight hours in the air, the strike group starts to edge into Iraqi airspace. Suddenly, 4 F-22 Raptors appear as if out of thin air. Their radars scan 200 miles in every direction, but they themselves are nearly invisible. Classic stealth. One of the Raptor pilots checks in over comms. Disco 47, sweet picture, clean, no factor. Translation: skies ahead are clear, no threats in sight. Each F-22 is armed with 6 long-range AMRAAMs and 2 Sidewinders. Just one of these jets is enough to make most air forces think twice. But it doesn't stop there. 8 F-35s trail behind them. These are the newest generation of stealth fighters, capable of surveillance, strike, and air defense, all in one platform. With a formation like that, if the Iranian Air Force was thinking about scrambling, they'd be better off staying on the ground. At 6:39 p.m. local time, the lead B-2 Spirit begins its attack run. The pilot activates the GPS-assisted targeting system, linking up with multiple satellites to dial in precision within 5 feet. Inside the weapons bay, the rotary launcher spins into position, aligning the first GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator for release. The target, the Fordo nuclear enrichment facility, is buried 300 feet beneath solid granite. In less than a minute, U.S. Air Force precision-guided munitions are set to permanently reshape that landscape. This strike isn't coming from the air alone. At 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, about 1,200 miles from the Iranian battle space, a U.S. Navy captain watches the countdown inside the control room of a guided missile submarine, almost certainly the USS Georgia. Unlike traditional subs, Georgia was originally an Ohio-class SSBN designed for nuclear deterrence. After a $700 million conversion, she now operates as an SSGN, a strategic platform built for conventional strike missions. Where she once carried 24 Trident ballistic missiles, Georgia now houses 154 Tomahawk land attack cruise missiles, more missile firepower than the entire loadout of escort ships in a typical carrier strike group. Inside her vertical launch system are Tomahawk Block V variants, the result of 40 years of cruise missile development. Each costs up to $2 million, carries a 1,000-pound warhead, and can fly 1,500 miles to strike targets with accuracy measured in inches. This combined air-sea operation reflects a deliberate escalation in full-spectrum strike capability. At about 60 feet below the surface, USS Georgia is holding at periscope depth, and it's vulnerable. That slim, high-tech sensor mast, called the AN-BBS-1, just broke through the water. It's small, but it reflects radar. A sharp radar operator could pick it up. But Iran's looking in the wrong place. Their coastal radars are focused on the narrow channels of the Persian Gulf, not the deeper, quieter waters where Georgia is waiting. Firing cruise missiles from underwater isn't like pushing a button in a video game. Each Tomahawk is sealed in a launch canister, pressurized with gas. When the launch order comes in, a small explosive blows the seal. Then compressed gas blasts the missile out of its tube. Fast, violent, like a champagne cork under pressure. The missile shoots upward through the water, hitting 50 feet per second. It breaks the surface then. The solid rocket booster lights up, sending it roaring into the night sky. But here's the catch. Newton's third law doesn't bend. When you throw a 3,000-pound missile forward, the submarine gets shoved the other way. Down. That's physics. So the ballast team has to act immediately. They shift water between trim tanks to keep the sub level and steady. React too slow, and the sub breaks the surface, instantly visible to any radar within 50 miles. React too fast, and the sub could dive below safe depth. It's all about timing, control, and precision under pressure. At exactly 16:05 Eastern Time, the first Tomahawk erupts from the sea. Its booster burns for 12 seconds, accelerating it to 550 miles per hour and lifting it toward cruise altitude. The booster then detaches, and a tiny turbofan engine, the Williams F-107, kicks in, quietly pushing the missile at high subsonic speed. By 16:30, all 30 Tomahawks are airborne. Each one uses an AN-DPW-23 radar altimeter to fly at a precise height, sometimes just 100 feet off the ground. Meanwhile, the guidance system compares stored satellite images with real-time visuals from the terrain below. Think of it as a navigation system that works like Google Maps, but can't be jammed, tricked, or confused. The flight time to Isfahan is exactly 127 minutes. That's not random. It's part of the plan. The Tomahawks are timed to hit 30 minutes before the B-2s, softening Iranian air defenses and disrupting command systems before the main strike arrives. Isfahan isn't just a city, it's home to key military targets, radar installations, air defense hubs, missile production sites, and the Shahid Vatanpur Air Base. This isn't a warning, it's a deep strike aimed straight at Iran's control center. How do you think this kind of pinpoint strike changes the future of military deterrence? Drop your thoughts below, I read every comment. As Iran's radars scan high for incoming bombers, 30 Tomahawks are already flying low, launched from sea, staying under the radar, cutting through terrain at treetop height. Hard to see, harder to stop. On USS Georgia, the captain watches them vanish over the horizon. Each shows as a blue triangle, with a countdown timer ticking toward impact. The submarine's job is done, but the strike is just starting. These are Block 5 Tomahawks, modern, long-range, and equipped with two-way satellite links. That means mid-flight updates, target changes on the move, and live imagery sent back to base. They're not just weapons, they're scouts. As they close in on Isfahan, they're already feeding back real-time visuals for battle damage assessment. Below, Georgia slips beneath the thermocline, into deeper water where sonar can't track it. Silent, hidden. Above, 30 missiles fly straight toward one of the most fortified cities in Iran, and they're not coming back. Everything is in position. Stealth bombers have crossed half the globe. Sub-launched cruise missiles are in flight. Electronic warfare is blanketing the skies over Iran. But what happens next isn't a warning. It's calculated destruction. Blanketing the skies over Iran. But what happens next isn't a warning. It's calculated destruction. But this was just the approach. In Part 2, the bombs fall. Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan are hit with surgical violence. 30,000-pound penetrators, supersonic kill chains, a nuclear fortress reduced to dust. If you thought the setup was tense, wait until you see what happens when the trigger's pulled. If you're into military strategy, high-tech warfare, and real-world operations like this, hit the like button, share this video, and subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you won't miss when Part 2 drops.